Good morning, and thank you for joining me today. Last night on 36th Street, just west of Paulson Street, we had another incident of gun violence where 3 people were shot. All 3 were transported to the hospital, and that's all I know at this point. Is Chief Minter coming? Okay, but any information will be released from the police department, any additional information. It's been widely reported our city experienced a deadly officer-involved shooting on Saturday night. As you know, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is handling this total investigation, which is a standard process for an officer-involved shooting to ensure an independent and transparent examination. Based on Sunday's press release from the GBI indicating their preliminary investigation, we do know this, that Savannah police officers conducted a traffic stop at around 9:30 Saturday night on East Bolton Street for failure to stop at a stop sign. During the traffic stop, officers were talking to the driver outside the vehicle while the passenger was moving around inside of the vehicle. Officers asked the man to stop moving and show his hands. He refused, stepped out of the vehicle, and pointed a gun at the officers. An officer fired gunshots at the passenger, striking him and killing him. An autopsy will be performed at the GBI Crime Lab, and the GBI will provide any additional information about this case. Once the investigation is finished, the case will be given to the Chatham County District Attorney's Office for review. Transparency is the key in a situation like this. And so we are supportive of the GBI's work to assess the facts, to call balls and strikes, and to come to a determination about what actually happened. As I was on the scene that evening, I heard, witnessed, and saw on social media people who were opining about what had occurred, and the reality was they saw nothing. They speculate, and again, my position in this is when the GBI indicates what has occurred, then we will move from there. Speculation and conspiracy theories are dangerous, they're reckless, and they're irresponsible on all sides. I think that Savannahans want, need, and deserve the truth about what happened, and we know that we have the scientific and law enforcement capabilities to reconstruct what actually occurred. As I understand it, the officers involved wore and had their body-worn cameras activated, so I believe that there may be video footage of this incident. And I know that there have been repeated calls for us to release the video from this incident, but it's important to make clear a couple of things. One, we don't have it. All of the evidence related to this incident is in the possession of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, number one. Number two, it's important to make clear that the Georgia Open Records Law, specifically the official Code of Georgia annotated 50-18-72, paragraph A, section 4, 50-18-72-A4, clearly states that records that are the subject of a pending criminal investigation and or prosecution are not subject to disclosure. And I know that you as our media partners know that, and we just have to do a better job of making sure that our citizens know that. So my message is relatively simple. Until we know for sure, we don't know it all. And so we will allow and expect the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to conduct a complete and thorough investigation and determine the facts. Again, the findings will be forwarded to the District Attorney's Office for consideration and action, if any. So updates and additional information regarding this incident will be provided by the GBI. And anything that I would proffer or the police department will be just kind of rebroadcasting what they have already said. I'm also very carefully monitoring our community's COVID-19 data, as all of our statistics, 7-day rolling average, community transmission rates, hospitalizations, are all trending up big time. As the Coastal Health District put it, there is nothing post-COVID about current trends. Vaccinations are critically important as Chatham County's community transmission index and hospitalizations increase, mostly due to the Delta variant, which is more transmissible. At this point, only 39% of Georgians are fully vaccinated, which is abysmal considering the rest of the country. And likewise, we're not much better. Only 41% of Chatham County is fully vaccinated. And only about 45% of our county residents have had at least one dose of the vaccine. We also know that about 95% of our citizens 65 and older are vaccinated, but we know that the lower the age, the greater the possibility that the person is not vaccinated. And we also know that two age groups with the highest number of COVID infections statewide are 18 to 29, followed by those 30 to 39. And so being young and healthy is not an excuse. It does not make you immune to this. And again, the vaccine is the best way to protect yourself. The CDC director indicated last week that 97% of hospitalizations from COVID-19 are currently among unvaccinated individuals. And from Washington, they've been calling this the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Anyone choosing at this point not to get a COVID-19 shot is truly playing a game of Russian roulette. As it relates here in Savannah, our hospital numbers are up, and the people that are being hospitalized by and large are those in those age ranges, those that are not vaccinated. We have had a few breakthrough cases of people who are vaccinated becoming infected, but they've been asymptomatic and did not require any hospitalization at all. So it shows that the vaccine is making a difference. It's important for us to not make this a political issue, because it's not. It has been for us here in Savannah from the very beginning a public health issue. We've always said that we were going to keep the faith and follow the science. Follow the science. Not follow the theories, not follow the politics, not follow political parties. We were going to follow the science. And because of that, our city has done remarkably better than many cities in our country. As a matter of fact, our hotel occupancies for the last several weeks have been over 95%. Our businesses are reporting their best days ever, but yet now we're right back to where we started from. Our cases are back to where they were in March, and this is just a very, very bad and dangerous trend. So the vaccine clinic at the Savannah Civic Center remains open on Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. And on Saturday, the Coastal Health District and CORE are hosting another vaccine clinic at Keller's Flea Market at 5901 Ogeechee Road from noon to 4 o'clock p.m. And we're asking, while you're out there shopping, get your vaccine. Free COVID vaccines are available at every county health department in the Coastal Health District and many pharmacies, doctor's offices, and health clinics across our community. I want to also thank our citizens for their interest in the development of the fairgrounds property. Over 300 citizens attended community meetings held over 2 days last week to offer their comments and feedback about the 3 proposed plans. And on last Thursday, the City Council had the opportunity to review these proposals and to ask questions. Council members had the opportunity to submit questions to the developers, and we expect to receive those answers sometime this week, and of course, we will make those public once we receive them. City staff will continue their technical, analytical, engineering, and financial review of the proposals, and they will make a recommendation to council within the coming weeks. So we just ask folks to stay tuned. This is a big project, and we want to make sure we get it right. On Friday, City Manager Michael Brown released to the City Council the archaeological assessment, the Phase 1 report regarding a special use permit to allow a shelter at 2305 Augusta Avenue. And you remember this, in April of 2021, the City Council approved a special use permit to the Salvation Army contingent on the determination that the land in question, which was formerly known as the Bartow Homes property, was not the site upon which the largest sale of enslaved persons in our country's history occurred in March of 1859, which is known as the Weeping Time. So Weeping Time was an event. The racetrack was a place. And so I think the council's desire in this was that if it was the site of the sale, that we would not approve this special use permit. And therefore, we turn it over to professionals to make that determination. If the archaeological assessment determined that the tract in question was the site of the sale, not the site of the racetrack, the right site of the sale, then the council's approval will be withdrawn. And I think that's the important distinction to make. The site of the racetrack currently has Bradley's Plywood, it currently has 516, it currently has Brock Elementary School on the site of the racetrack. We're talking about the site of the sale. So Brockington and Associates, the firm that the City Council unanimously approved as the city's primary archaeologist, too many words, archaeologist in February, conducted what was known or is known as a Phase 1 archaeological assessment and determined the following, and I quote, "Our specific goal of the project was to conduct archival research to determine whether the project tract property was associated with the 1859 Weeping Time. Our chain of title and historical research indicates that the project tract was not associated with the Weeping Time. The project tract was a legally separate piece of property in March of 1859, and historical records do not indicate a functional linkage between the project tract property and the adjacent race course, the documented location of the Weeping Time until at least 1864, but more definitively after 1871. So now there's been definitively determined that the Bartow Home site is not the site where the sale of enslaved persons occurred. There will be no further council action on this matter. Beyond that, it is the business of the Housing Authority of Savannah and the Salvation Army. I do think, though, that we all agree that we must find a way to appropriately memorialize this dark time in our nation's history. And we must do it as close to the actual site as possible. I have reached out and will continue to reach out to Bradley's Plywood, and I'm thankful to the Salvation Army for recognizing this need. And I'm hopeful that we can work together to create a suitable memorial to commemorate this historic occasion. On this coming Thursday, the City Council will meet in executive session to continue our dialogue regarding the city manager search. If we can reach a consensus on a candidate and the terms of employment, we will vote on that appointment during Thursday's meeting. This item will be added to the City Council agenda as a placeholder in the event we have a meeting of the minds and we're ready to move forward. So this is in anticipation that we're able to get there. If we don't, then we just won't. But we want it to be publicly, to meet the public notice requirements. This week, we will also host the first of 2 public hearings about the city's 2021 millage rate. The hearings will be held on Thursday, July the 22nd at 4 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. and the public can offer comments in one of 2 ways. They can share written comments by emailing the Clerk of Council at clerkofcouncil@savannahga.gov or by calling 912-651-6444. Written comments become public record and they are shared with the council before the meeting. Members of the public may also come to the City Hall Council chambers to join the meeting via a Zoom connection. A third public hearing will be held on August the 12th at 2:00 p.m. and the public can share their comments in the same ways. Again, we are not considering a millage rate increase. We are maintaining the same millage rate. However, due to a very quirky and confusing state law, it has to be advertised as an increase because we're not rolling back our tax rate. We have rolled back for the last 2 years, and again, given our financial situation, we think it's just best to stand pat for right now. In other council business this week, we will consider adjusting our to-go cup ordinance to allow for aluminum cups. This adjustment will last for 60 days if approved by the council to allow local businesses to participate in this voluntary aluminum cup pilot program. I'm not sure exactly what happened toward the end of the last council meeting, but in short, the reality is that right now we do not have it in our ordinance to allow aluminum. And so in order for us to do the trial, we have to make it legal to do the trial. So the insertion of the word aluminum allows us to do the trial. We're not mandating anybody. This is a pilot. We have businesses that are interested at their own expense. It's not costing the city anything. And so, although I believe we explained this exhaustively and have sent documentation to that end, there was still apparently some confusion on council. So we're expecting this to move forward. This change will allow paper, plastic, and aluminum cups to be used in our to-go cup zone. We're also considering a $1 million contract for much-needed renovations at the Delaware Center. This is a SPLOST-funded project, and it will add new windows, flooring, paint, and landscaping. And this project will also redesign the main entrance and upgrade the kitchen, media room, fitness center, and community room. And then finally, some very good news that I'm excited to report. And it should be good news because we already knew it, but now the world is taking note. So guess who was named one of Times Magazine's world's greatest places? Savannah. Savannah. I mean, we knew it. We're glad Time finally caught up with us. To compile this list, Time solicited the nominations of places including countries, regions, cities, and towns from its international network of correspondents and contributors with an eye toward those offering new and exciting experiences. And we were listed among some of the most stunning destinations around the globe, and we are praised for our game-changing revitalization of our historic waterfront. This is another brand new accolade for Savannah from one of the news industry's most prestigious brands. And as you know, Time Magazine is a beast in the news industry, a readership of 1.6 million around the world, 1 million in the United States. The full Time World's Greatest Places list will be featured in the August the 2nd double issue of Time, available on newsstands on Friday, July 23rd. So that's on this Friday. And I want to thank Visit Savannah, Joe Marinelli, and those folks who keep us, you know, and I'm glad the time finally got it right. Time, you know, we knew. So we have to go from the world's greatest places to one of the earth's greatest places. So good news to end on a high note, and any questions I can answer, I'll answer at this time.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, ma'am.
I wanted to kind of clear up, going back to the weekly time special use permit thing. I know it was said kind of early on in the whole process that Rockington would take their findings to a state board for review. Is that still the plan, and how will that kind of fit into?
I don't ever remember a state board. The council's motion was that we would engage an archaeological firm to be able to make a phase 1 analysis of the site. Remember, council already voted. And I think council was very sensitive that if it was the site on which, because at the time we were here and everybody said, oh, this is where it occurred. We didn't think that it was, but I think council wanted to be sure. And so we already have a archaeological firm on a retainer. We engaged their services to review the site and the archival documents and maps and those types of things. And so they've issued their findings. And so that's it. I'm not familiar with any state entities being involved. I'm sure that the findings will be given to the Housing Authority and the Salvation Army as well, but and it's public record. But as far as we know, that's it.
So really the next step in this is up to the Housing Authority?
Yes. Again, we've never had a dog in this fight, so to speak. We didn't own the property. We were not involved in the sale of it. We were just approving a special use permit for an organization that checked all of the boxes. And so I think the bone of contention was that the assertion was made that this was the property on which the enslaved folks were sold. And personally, if that was the site, if the Bartow Homes site was where this occurred, I would not support it. And so therefore, rather than speculate, we got experts in, and they did a review. It was not only a memo from the city manager, they issued a booklet with their findings, with the maps, and I think they were pretty clear that it was not. So.
And then during the last night's shooting, you know, does that, we know 3 people were hurt in the hospital, does that change or, I guess, does that change your gun violence initiatives at all? What, can you give us an update on any of those?
No, it doesn't. You know, the work continues, and we recognize that these incidents will continue to occur as long as some things remain the same. As I understand it, it was the same type of thing. It was individuals that had some beef with each other and decided to handle it with a gun. Again, the police will have more narrative about what actually occurred, but we have to get in between bad decisions and then acting on those decisions. If someone in that situation said, let's just wait 10 seconds, maybe this did not occur. So the thing about a good game plan is that you stick with the plan, and so we're going to stick with the plan.
And how do you plan to get in between those decisions? I know it's you have your conversations with mothers and fathers, with the young people, but when they're older and those parents might not be around, how do you kind of stick yourself in between those two?
Well, again, I think, you know, community-wide, helping people, we are reaching out to those who have been justice impacted, people who have spent time in jails or prisons. We think they could be extraordinarily helpful to us. We're also going to engage ministers. I'm proposing a plan in which we're able to engage interrupters that are faith-based. When something happens, for example, which happened Saturday night, our chaplains were amazing. You know, it was very, very tense. Temperatures were all out of the roof. You know, people were very accusatory. There were things where people threw things at the police. And then having these chaplains, these are local ministers and members of the clergy that people know and they respect, were able to, talk to people and just use their gifts and their talents to be able to help to diffuse that. I want to see more of that, and ultimately I would love to see where we have our city broken up into 4 quadrants, and when something like this happens, we really unleash the faith community to be able to get involved, particularly with issues of retaliation. If we can't stop the first one, maybe we can stop the second one. I talked to some young men last night who came up who were saying it was maybe their cousin that was shot, and so it was an opportunity to say, all right, let's calm this thing down. So.
Do you think that type of presence this weekend helped maybe prevent something else from happening on the scene?
Absolutely. Again, people were upset. People were mad, and then there were people out there who were trying to fan flames. I watched this, and insults were hurled at me and other council members, at the police, the members of our clergy that were on the ground, I think, helped to calm some of that down. Maybe they cussed me out, but they wouldn't cuss the minister out standing in front of them. And so if that helps to be a release valve to lessen the temperature, then I'm all for it. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
I just have a couple procedural questions. The first is about the city council on Thursday. Did I understand you correctly that if you do come to a decision in executive session, you will then make that decision public by having this on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're placing it on the agenda in the event we can. So, the goal is that I'm hoping we will, but there is a public notice requirement. So I wanted to get it on the public record just in case.
Okay, and as far as the housing, or the Salvation Army shelter, this is a special use permit. You said the council has no more action regarding this because you did approve it already, correct?
Correct.
As far as this archaeological study, do you have confidence that all council members will accept this as accurate?
No. I mean, I don't. I just think that there are very strong feelings about the property for a variety of reasons. I have strong feelings about the property. Again, the question was, is the Bartow Homes tract, was that where the slave sale occurred? For me, that was the question. If it occurred there, and I was very clear, if the sale of the enslaved individuals occurred there, then I was not going to support it. And that was all I wanted to know. And it's been definitively determined by professionals engaged in this business that it did not occur there. And so I'm done with it as far as that's concerned.
How about the community? Because there was concern that they didn't want that shelter there anyway.
Well, I think if you look at the record, the West Savannah Community Association and the Woodville Community Association, which both are both joining to that, issued not only letters of support, but they also have good neighbor agreements with the Salvation Army. Again, I just think that many of the people that were against it didn't live there, didn't own property there. Again, and I understand that there was this need to try to commemorate by holding on to the Weeping Time site. The problem is that the Weeping Time site is on private property. The Tin Rock Racetrack is on private property, is on state property, and is on school board property. None of it is city property. So I can understand the need to be able to say, this is it. But I mean, in a city of history, history counts. And in a city of history, if it's not the site where the sale occurred, then we shouldn't be saying it was the site where the sale occurred. It's a site adjacent to the site where the site occurred. And so again, I think, I've reached out to Bradley's Plywood in the past. I will reach out to them again, to see where they are and to see if there are ways that we could work together. But in terms of this particular site, that's not it.
So anybody on the council or anywhere else in the community that doesn't want this, as far as you're concerned, the council has already acted with the special use permit?
The council voted in April. The council has formally taken action on this. And again, I think, credit to the council for saying, we recognize that there might be some hesitation because the issue raised was, don't do this here because this is the site. So then the question becomes, let's see if it is the site. If it is the site, then we withdraw our approval. If it's not the site, then we move forward. And so I think, again, this is determined it's not the site, and we move forward. I think I have a very good idea of exactly where the site is, but it's not on city-owned property.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Mayor. Looking at some of the COVID numbers, we have seen a dramatic increase in our CTI,
Yes.
which is now officially over that original threshold from the governor for a mask mandate, something that the city of Savannah had instituted early on and kept holding on to. Is that something you were planning to revisit?
All options are on the table. I'm talking daily, a couple of times a day with our medical professionals. I'm asking for guidance. I've said before that this is not a political decision. It's a decision based on science. It was based on science for us to implement the state's first mask mandate in June, I believe, July or June of 2020. It was based on medical and scientific evidence that we released it. And if anything changes by what we're doing, it will be based on that again. We don't want to be knee-jerk. We want to base it off of trends, so we're looking at trends. We do know our hospitalizations are up here. We know that our current CTI, which is Community Transmission Index, is 139. We know yesterday it was 122, and before that we know it was 111. So as you see, we're having a pretty steady climb. We also know, in comparison, Camden County is in the 400s. 400s. Something's going to have to happen, change. I'm not sure where or how, and again, I'm not going to trust myself to make that decision. I'm going to rely on our health professionals. They've done us well so far.
Along that line, Time announcing us as one of the world's greatest places. We've seen a lot of visitors in our area. What do you want people who are coming to Savannah to know and to do in regards to the Delta variant and COVID restrictions?
Wear a mask. Wear a mask. If you're not vaccinated, wear a mask. Wear a mask. This piece of fabric represents freedom. It represents us being able to go where we want to go and do what we want to do. And get vaccinated. I think that's the message. There's a reason why our folks 65 and older are not going to the hospital, because they're vaccinated. We have to get out of this conspiracy theories and things about chips being placed in people's arms and tracking devices and all that foolishness. I got the vaccine because I wanted to live. Period. I wanted to live. And we have been taking vaccines our entire lives. Our entire lives. If we use the same type of mentality now that was happening back in the day, we would have never beat smallpox and polio. The fact was they were eliminated because people became vaccinated. And so for me and for many folks in our communities, it's time to stand up and say, I've been vaccinated, and to insist that people around you are vaccinated. I don't want to go back to where we were, to where so many restrictions. It hurts people. But some of the same people who say we don't want restrictions don't want to help give anything in return to try to help keep people safe. And we know what social distancing, we know what capacity requirements did to businesses. It was hard for them. But on the other end of it, you know, this helps. And I don't know how a piece of fabric can become such a political time bomb, but the fact of the matter is, it saves lives. And so even though I'm vaccinated, when I'm around folks that I'm not sure of their status, right on my face.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, in regards to the Fairgrounds property open house, so the community came out and now the council will be asking questions to the developers and the city staff will make recommendations about each of these. So I would like to know, how is the community feedback weighted in the process? Because each of the developers, there were QR codes for us to send feedback in. So what does that look like in terms of decision-making process?
Well, I think it's two sides of it. One is a resident-driven feedback session. Residents don't make the decision. It is the decision of the 9 members of council. And so residents can feed back to members of council directly. We're all pretty accessible. And then there's also the technical, analytical, engineering, financial side of the house, in which by our procurement ordinance, a thorough and careful examination of the proposals has to be made. And so where those intersect is where council makes a decision. There is a purchase price ultimately for the property as well. So someone might have a great proposal, but they're not offering the same amount of money. So I think those are the types of things that have to be weighed. I was really pleased to see so many people coming out. That shows that there's interest in it. And I've heard some really good feedback on all of the proposals. And so I think that, you know, some might work better than others. But again, that's for the council to decide.
Okay. And some questions, well, one of the questions that I asked to the developers that I spoke to was, what do they feel like that would look like in terms of gentrification? But ultimately, that is also for the council to decide. So with this new housing agenda, and as far as the task force is concerned, is that something that is being looked at, making sure not to displace the current citizens that surround the area?
Right. Well, the good part about it is a big tract of land, so it doesn't displace anybody. It creates new. If you remember, and I'm not sure if you were with us then, I fought for the purchase of this property. We paid more for this property than it was worth. And the reason was because we've been working with the residents, and the fairgrounds was such an intrusive use on the surrounding community. People were parking in people's yards, all kinds of things were going on. So it was an opportunity, rather than have someone buy it on the free market and do something else that didn't fit well with the neighborhood, we saw it as an opportunity, and it was city manager Stephanie Cutter at the time, to be able to do residential and leisure recreational services. Obviously, it's morphed into something totally way bigger and different than it was initially determined to be. But my position on this is every property we have should be looked at as in an affordable housing range, the affordable housing lens. How do we help to create housing that is affordable, be that single family or duplexes for working people to be able to live? And so I think that fits well into our Housing Savannah plan that was released last week. And so we also have to gauge these proposals about that as well. I think housing is appropriate. It shouldn't be too much housing. And on the other end, I think the range of the housing, particularly of the mortgages and rents, must be consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. You prevent gentrification by making sure that it's all consistent. If you end up with high-end homes, you kind of help to spur some of that process. Thank you. And And the cell phone is out.
Always. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Did want to ask, I know we have the naming announcement for the new arena
Yes,
stopping this afternoon.
yes,
They're obviously a very exciting time to finally get the name on that.
yes.
There are some on council, though, that were concerned that the city, some on council didn't have representation at the table when it came to working out the deal for these naming rights. What exactly was the process? I mean, did city staff negotiate it on behalf of the city, and how does that work?
No, as a matter of fact, this process was set in place. I didn't have anything to do with it. As a matter of fact, I just found out what the name was yesterday. The naming rights for the new arena is a part of the contract that the city signed with the Oakview Group, OVG. And as a part of that contract, and has been shared with council, not only in sessions, but also documented, OVG conducts the the process for naming rights. It is a strict financial deal. The selected person, selected group will be, $1 million a year for 10 years. So no member of council had any dealings with anybody. Again, I just found out yesterday. I knew it was on my calendar. I didn't know what the name was, and then I found out last evening what the name was. So I'm concerned, obviously, that we've discussed this on multiple occasions. We were briefed on it on multiple occasions. There's multiple items of documentation that describe the process and describe the contract with the Oakview Group and what the Oakview Group was responsible for. I'm almost sure that no city staff were involved at all. This was clearly a contractual responsibility of OVG, because at the end of the day, the Oakview Group pays the city of Savannah for that arena, and they have to make that money to pay us. And we're going to expect that money. And so because of that, they conduct those naming rights. So I heard some of that yesterday as well, and I was a little surprised, although, again, I knew what the relationship of OVG with the city was. The city would not come to the city for approval, because that was not what the contract was. And keep in mind, the Oakview Group was also signed and approved by the last administration. So this is a contract that was already existing, and the responsibility is already spelled out. I think that one very valid point of contention, of which I've already started to address, was that ultimately the current arena is named the Martin Luther King Arena. And so there are things that are specific to that arena that I think will be appropriate to be in the new arena. In my mind, it's a huge painting of MLK that the late, great Artie Milton painted. I would love to see that in our new arena once we have gotten to that point. But other than that, the name comes with money, and the money comes to the city. And so we didn't have a dog in that fight. There's a contract, and the contract is very clear about who does the naming rights and all of that. And again, for the record, I had nothing to do with that. I didn't know who. I didn't participate in any negotiations. I wasn't even given a heads up. I just knew on my calendar today we were revealing the name, and then last night I found out who it was.
Thank you, sir. Just to piggyback really quick on a question that Blair asked, with regard to looking at potential for COVID restrictions coming back to some degree, would that extend, and forgive me if I wasn't honing in on this, would that extend to private business or encouraging private business like you did before?
Yes. 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 I mean, I have to think, and again, I don't want to be premature again, because the position of our healthcare folks might be to say, hey, just stand pat right now. So, we'll see.
Thanks.
Thank you. I saw the look on her face.
Okay, just a clarification, because I haven't covered the arena as much as everybody else. She says the name comes with money and the money comes to the city. So this is a private group that is paying you and they're getting money from the people
Right.
that have their name.
Right, as a part of the contract with Oakview Group, the Oakview Group manages the arena. Their responsibility is to make the arena solvent, so to speak, in that they pay the city annually, and I don't know how much the amount is, I'll get it by this afternoon's press conference. They pay that to the city, and so as a responsibility, they manage the entire arena. You know, they handle issues of food, who the vendors are, they issue the acts, who goes in there, all of those things. Because at the end, it has to work, because at the end of the day, we want our money per the contract. And so in the contract, it says very specifically that the OVG will handle the naming rights. And you see this across the country. You see a variety of arenas, Allstate, the State Farm Arena. You see, you know, and so that is what, when you see those names on those arenas, the Quicken Loans Arena, they pay to have their name there. And so for that, that fits into the equation to the city. But I just need to say for the record, the city of Savannah, we had no role in that. It's part of a contractual agreement that has been approved by the city council prior to us. And, you know, the council did not have a role. I'm not sure we should have had a role because it's a financial negotiation.
One more thing on that. Part of the arguments that there wasn't enough city involvement was also that this deal doesn't benefit the intended community. I'm assuming the surrounding neighborhood is what this particular council member was talking about.
Say it again.
That this deal, as far as the naming rights for the arena, does not benefit the intended community, which would be the surrounding neighborhood around the arena, putting that money back into the neighborhoods around.
No, this is a citywide project, a citywide SPLOST project, in which really money came for this project from the entire county. And so I think that the community benefits from the arena are derived from the improved roadways, the improved drainage, the improved signage. It is derived from the water works renovation, which if we had passed the sales tax thing, we would have had money to help to develop that. So I think the community benefits are significant, but no, I mean, in terms of this was not something where we were taking $1 million and giving it to the surrounding communities. It's important to note that the Savannah Arena is a Savannah project. It's the entire county. Because like I said, when you look at it, county funds, people who live in other parts of our county voted for the 2 successive SPLOST referendums that got this arena built. And so we have to look at that globally. And again, this is a part of the contract. So I guess well, let me go further. If someone wanted to offer that type of money, then they would have had the opportunity. I don't know how they advertised it, but they would have had the opportunity. I'm sure there were more than one type of vendor that they spoke to about that. In this case, as I understand it, there is a successful bidder, so to speak, and we'll be acknowledging that today. But, you know, I guess, you know, when these processes and these things are articulated and they're explained and they are reduced to writing and they're emailed, I think it's important that we pay attention to them. You know, unfortunately, sometimes a lot of our issues occur because someone just didn't read the email or weren't paying attention during the session. So I think we could pull the many times we talked about the relationship of OVG in the city of Savannah, what OVG does for the city of Savannah, you know, and the contract is public record. So we knew that as this arena was nearing completion, that it would be named. And we knew the name would come with financial consideration. And we knew that that consideration would be the responsibility of OVG and not the city of Savannah. And it would be without advice or consent, because the goal of the arena is to be able to make money. And so that's how big boys play, and that's, you know, this is a big time arena. And so we want to make sure that is as solvent as possible, that it's making the money that it's supposed to make, and that the city gets the funds from it that we're supposed to get. And so we hire professionals to do that work, and they're doing what we contractually, albeit not this council, but what we contracted them to do. And so, do I think it would have been better to name it something else? I mean, you know, sure. I do think, as I spoke with some folks last night, that we'll have some opportunities to honor Dr. King in the new arena. Because you have to look at the time when the old arena was built in the early 1970s. Dr. King was only assassinated a couple of years before. And so there was a rush around the country. They were naming things after Dr. King. And so, again, I just think that we can honor the legacy of our old arena. We can honor the legacy of Dr. King in the new arena. But in terms of the financial implications of naming the arena, you know, they were corporately naming arenas back in the 70s, and they're doing that now. So for us, this is an opportunity for us to make sure that we get the financial commitment that OVG has agreed to. All right? Something else? Okay. All right, well, we look forward to seeing you all this afternoon, and we'll see where it goes. And again, thank you all. May God bless you all. May God bless the city of Savannah. You have anything? Okay. All right. Thank you all.